Another highly coveted high school football player has dropped his Final Four schools, and NC State yet again is in the mix.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs have now winded down and the sport stopped sportsing over the summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Happy Wednesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, there's yet another highly coveted high school football prospect that NC State is very interested in. He drops his Final Four schools that are in the hunt for his commitment, and NC State is up amongst some of the big dogs in college football. Of course, I'm talking about 2025 four-star safety Jordan Young out of Monroe, North Carolina. Listed his Final Four schools on Tuesday. It includes NC State. They are going up against Clemson, Florida State, and Michigan. Another Final Four that is loaded with blue blood level college football recognition here. Now, I've already seen some Michigan fans feel they're not quite as in the race as the other three because they've already taken some 2025 safeties. So perhaps you're looking at a situation where it's an ACC Final Three that are vying for this big-time commitment. It could be NC State, Clemson, and Florida State after Jordan Young.
He is special whenever he is on the field. Offensively, defensively, special teams, he can do it all. And this is, I keep talking about this. There are guys that are going to have to stay home. There are guys that are high-level special guys that are going to have to stay home if NC State is ever to break through and get to that big-time level. The reality is Jordan is a very special player, but imagine pairing him with the number one quarterback in that class, and then you get one of the best safeties in the class, and then you look up and you say to yourself in 3 to 4 years, did we pull off an absolute recruiting, just a master class in 2025? Did we pull off one of the best classes in not just Doran's tenure, in NC State history? And did that completely change the fortune of this program or what? We've already talked about the fact that I believe Doran is a lifer here. I believe that, there's not anywhere else where he will go where they would look at him and say, hey, you're the answer to the problems of our program, but also we're going to give you the same amount of time, hell, even half the amount of time that NC State gave you to build this program into what they are today. So with that being said, if we can pull off a 2025 class that includes a top quarterback, top safety, all these top guys, all of a sudden you're looking at a situation where it's like, man, you won in North Carolina. You did all you needed to do there. You're trending in the right direction, up and to the right. Clemson is trending in the wrong direction. And let's be very honest, not using the transfer portal and wanting to go to the Big Ten or the SEC. How do you think that's going to work out for you, buddy? What do you think the end result is there? I have a few thoughts. None of them are good. So now all of a sudden you get into, well, maybe building a fence around North Carolina ain't enough. Maybe we build a fence around the Carolinas. And now all of a sudden you're looking at a very different ball game there. And, again, this is the type of young man he is. To be as tall as he is, you would be surprised by how quickly he can move and how he has that body control, but he's also willing to come up and lay some absolute lumber on guys. Jordan Young is special. Being named in the Final Four means something. Getting them to commit would mean a lot more something. Getting them to sign on the dotted line and play for NC State. That's the ultimate goal here.
Jordan Young just looks like a Tony Gibson type player. He's not only one of the best safeties in the state of North Carolina, but one of the best safeties in the country. He's extremely fast. He's extremely physical, has a great feel for coverage, has a great feel for disrupting the run game. Anything you need him to do back there in the secondary, he can do it and then some. To put a guy like this into Tony Gibson's defense, it has you salivating with what Gibson could throw together. Furthering some of the discussions we've had of the results that NC State's been putting up with non-4 and 5-star guys, once you start to bring in talents like a Jordan Young, for example, Tony Gibson is already one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, if not the best. Once you start giving him elite talent on top of that, look out. Jordan Young would be a rock star at NC State. He would arguably be the biggest commitment of the 2025 class. Dead serious. Like, he is that level of talent at the safety position. Jordan Young said he'll be announcing his commitment on October 12th. That leaves NC State with a lot of time to make up some ground, especially in the sense that we have to play Clemson at Clemson in late September, right before he has to commit. If NC State goes down there and embarrasses the Tigers, you think that's not going to help our case? It absolutely will. So NC State, I feel like they should feel pretty good about where they're currently at. Sure, Clemson's maybe the front runner now, but more momentum building up throughout the rest of the summer. If you start the 2024 season as hot as you think that you can, perhaps you could land a guy like Jordan Young as a result. Just another scenario, we talked about it with Faison Brandon and his Final Four. Looking at these other three schools, Clemson, Florida State, and Michigan, all three of these schools have won a national title in the last 10 to 12 years, counting Florida State. That's a really big deal for NC State to be listed amongst these schools. Yet again, and I know I sound like a broken record, this is what we're talking about with NC State being right on the doorstep to breaking through. Kenton's repeatedly said some of these schools reaching national prominence, it usually starts with a highly coveted kid from that state that chooses to stay home. It could be Faison Brandon. It could be Jordan Young. And so for Jordan Young to list NC State in his Final Four, that's a really big deal. It'll be a much bigger deal if we can get him to commit, but he is an excellent defensive player in the secondary, and he would fit in seamlessly to a Tony Gibson defense.
Let me tell you something. I'm going to quote two songs for you, okay? Number one is Nelly. Give me 2 per. I need 2 per, okay? I'm not talking about Air Force Ones. I'm talking about elite kids staying home. Give me both of them. I need Faison. I need Young. I need both. And then, in terms of the type of player Jordan Young is, he's like Drew Hill. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if it ain't good enough. Give it. I'll get it done. Because this guy, again, he's a guy that I can't think of anything that I've seen him do at the high school level. I'm like, man, that's going to be really, really tough for him to pull off at the college level, or he's just not going to be that same level of guy at the college level in terms of things I've seen from him defensively. So honestly and truly, I'd love for him to stay home. I'd love for NC State to get this young man. We'll see. We'll see. There's a lot of time left. And like you said, remember when I specifically told you all, hey, all NC State has to do is go out there and win, and there will be multiple recruits. There will be multiple recruiting battles that come down to whether or not NC State can win ball games this year. Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for the result of this game and the result of this recruitment. That's all I'm going to say. Keep an eye out.
Yet another prospect that could continue to change the trajectory of NC State football. It is that big of a deal. 4-star safety Jordan Young lists NC State in his Final Four, and he will be committing on October the 12th. Make sure to keep an eye out for that. Coming up next, we're getting into a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of something after a quick word from our sponsors. Today's sponsor is FanDuel. Look, we all love sports. In fact, we love them so much, we never want them to end. The playoffs have passed us, and really all we have to celebrate now is MLB baseball. Well, that's not true. We have the Olympics coming up. Anyway, all the sports are not quite sportsing like we would like them to, but FanDuel lets us keep the sports going all summer long. All we have to do is open the app and dream up any bets anytime you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every single day all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Middle portion of our Wednesday show. Now time for a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of something. 3 topics. We'll tell you exactly where we stand on them. First one, Aiden White. And we've been talking about Aiden White a whole lot on here. The number 7th cornerback in the country by Big Game Boomer. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
You know, I think this is a whole lot of something. And I think it should add even more to the massive boulder that is the chip on Aiden White's shoulder. Because don't get me wrong, I think Dorian Strong is phenomenal. I really do. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful athlete. If you were to say, hey, 1 for 1 in terms of who's going to test out better at the combine and all those things, who do you think is going to do better, Aiden White or Dorian? I'd say Dorian all day long. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. However, actual football is not played at the combine. That's not how that works out. If you were to ask me who the better player is, I'd say Aiden White. And it's close, but I'd say Aiden White. Aiden is phenomenal at everything he does, and I'm glad to see him starting to get that national recognition for just putting guys, I mean, Alcatraz, Guantanamo Bay, Gitmo, all of them. It's so ironic that those are 3 of the most iconic prisons. And what does this young man wear? Number 3. All I'm saying, the coincidence, I think not. But in all seriousness, he is known for taking other teams' best receivers and saying, hey, come on with me, buddy. Your day's done here.
More often than not, I think any list from Big Game Boomer is a whole lot of nothing because the majority of it is just clickbait. It's stuff to talk about over the summer. We all understand this. However, I actually think that this list of the top 50 corners was a whole lot of something because Aiden White is getting proper recognition. He is one of the best, if not the best corner in the ACC, and he is a top 10 corner in the country. And I know Big Game Boomer is, for some reason, has an affinity for NC State, I guess sometimes when he chooses to, but he got this one right. Aiden White is unquestionably one of the top corners in the country, and it's about time that he starts getting recognized as one. You really never see him talked about ESPN, 247 Sports, On3. The only other publication I've sometimes seen some love shown is from PFF, although they didn't have him rated as one of the highest returning corners, but that's because he literally does not get thrown at. So it's nice to see Aiden get some love here. It is well-deserved. So for this one, I'll go a whole lot of something. Second one here. For the 3rd consecutive year, our head coach, Dave Doeren, lands on the Dodd Trophy preseason watch list. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of nothing. With all due respect, this is one of those things. It's a preseason award watch list. More power to him. I'm glad that he's built consistency. I'm glad that he's built a level where people are now expecting things of him. My mother always used to say, son, there's nothing worse to be in the world than a man with no expectations, because that means people know that you're a lifelong degenerate screw up. You just can't get right. And Doeren doesn't have that. That's not him. But with all due respect, the expectations that we have for Doeren are beyond, whether or not he wins this award. And also we learned, I feel like NC State fans have learned our lesson the hard way in terms of seeing guys with, preseason ACC Offensive Player of the Year or preseason Coach of the Year, whatever. Doesn't matter. We've got to go out there on the field and prove it. So I'm going to say a whole lot of nothing.
On the surface, I do agree because we do have higher expectations than winning just this award in particular. However, I will say because there are expectations being placed on Dave Doeren, I think it's a little bit of a whole lot of something. Doesn't really make sense, but you follow what I'm putting down here.
No, I get you.
I think for Coach Doeren to be on this preseason list, and I know it's a preseason list, but 3 consecutive years, that would tell me that the nation, or at least this committee, the Dodd Trophy Committee, is recognizing that Doeren is having this program on an upward climb here. They're repeatedly in the mix for, if not a preseason ranking, being ranked somewhere shortly thereafter once the season begins. So I do know there are other facets to the awards, such as involving your team in the community, which Dave Doeren does a fantastic job with that. There are only 21 coaches in the country that receive this preseason nod. And again, it's just a watch list. There's nobody receiving any hardware for this. However, I think it is a positive that Doeren is repeatedly finding himself on this watch list before the season begins. That would tell me that the nation is paying attention to what Doeren's building here in Raleigh. Somewhat quietly, they do have eyes on it nonetheless. So I'm going to go a little bit of a whole lot of something. And third one here, there are some rumors floating around. Supposedly, Coach Keats may be pursuing a 2025 high school prospect to reclassify and come up and take the final roster spot here in 2024. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it depends on who the player is, okay?
The name is Bryce Heard. Does that change anything for you?
A whole lot of something. First of all, Midwesterners, right? I gotta love them. Gotta love everything that Bryce Heard brings. He's a combo guard that can put it in, that can absolutely fill it up. And when I think about, hey, what does this team need? You and I both talked about where's the shooting gonna come from? Where's the shooting going to come from? We love to see the shooting, and this is a young man that definitely has that touch. He has that ability to, put it in the bucket from deep. I think that this is a whole lot of something. Bryce Heard, he's a dude. He's a bad guy. I'd love to see him in the red and white.
I too think this is a whole lot of something. Now, it might not be a whole lot of something for this season in particular. I think taking that big of a jump, I don't know if we should have any real expectations for Bryce Heard, assuming that he does commit. However, he is a 4-star combo guard. He's the number 2 player in the state of Illinois. So perhaps you can look at this as getting a leg up on recruiting for next season. If he is to reclassify and join us here, he's already here. He can get basically a bonus year, already getting familiar with Keats' system and the familiarity with not just the coaching staff, but the roster as well. That could very well lead to a whole lot of something, because let's just assume that if he does commit and then he does redshirt for his freshman year, he could be ready to roll by the time that sophomore year comes around. If he's here and he's familiar with the system, he's gotten plenty of practice reps, playing against guys that are significantly older than you because you did reclassify, that can also help your game level up at a faster rate as well. So if it is Bryce Heard and he does commit to take this last roster spot, I do think it's a whole lot of something. Possibly not for this season, but could be for seasons to come. Coming up next, we're going to round out our Wednesday episode with potentially discussing new traditions you would like to see around NC State football, after a quick word from our sponsors. Last couple minutes of our Wednesday show, wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about traditions. And I remember we ran an episode similar to this last summer discussing the lack of traditions for NC State, how they needed to add more things for the crowd, more things to be celebrated around the football program, more things to be proud of as a fan base. See the traditions like Michigan reaching up and touching the banner, or Enter Sandman at Virginia Tech. There's so many other schools around the country that have special moments that are defining for their program. Kind of feels like NC State doesn't have any of those. So thought it'd be fun to take a couple minutes and discuss how NC State could develop new traditions to be carried out for years to come. Kenton, do you have any ideas of your own?
I've got 2, one external, one internal. Okay. Stay with me here. If we're talking about, a tradition that will stand the test of time and that would be extremely unique, this tradition has been proposed to us by one of our listeners multiple times, but we're just now adapting it to make it a tradition. Grayson, what is the current world record for most people howling at once?
The Guinness World Record for largest number of people howling like a wolf all at the same time is 2,033 people. That's it.
We could cook that in our season opening game against the Island of Misfit Toys Community College. Here's what I propose. At kickoff, everybody does the opening kickoff. And then once it goes off, everybody does the extremely loud howl together in unison. Now listen, obviously, if it's our guy returning, we maybe tell one side, hey, take this kickoff off, take it off. But whenever we are kicking the ball off, the whole crowd needs to be howling at the top of their lungs when that ball is kicked off, because I'm telling you, there is something about that just seems intimidating, to say the least. And that's the external one. Here's the internal. Some schools have pride stickers. NC State used to have pride stickers. For those of you who don't know what pride stickers are, they're the things on players' helmets to signify that they have done something good. Ohio State probably has the most notable one that everybody looks at and they're like, man, that's a pride sticker right there. And theirs is, again, it's very famed. But what if we did dynamic pride stickers? I know what you're thinking. What is a dynamic pride sticker? How would that even work? Well, NC State has a lot of jersey and helmet combinations. What if we made our pride stickers match up with the uniforms? Now, granted, I can hear Country and Terry yelling at me now from the equipment room. What the hell are you doing, kid? We already work hard enough. Listen, I love you. Love both of them. They know that. Love them with all my heart. But I'm telling you, that would be one of the most unique and interesting internal traditions that there is. And think about what that would do for our helmet or for our uniform reveals. Every Thursday, we get to see or they drop the whole joint on Thursday, but on Wednesday, they give you the helmet and the stickers, and that's it. They just pop out with that on Wednesday. Then Thursday, they reveal the whole thing. What say you, Grayson?
It could be something there. You really could be onto something. I think the dynamic pride stickers, funny enough, NC State used to have these. If you think back to the years of Phillip Rivers, they were the little claw marks that you often see on his white helmet in a lot of the pictures. So we used to do this type of thing, and it has subsequently gone away. But you look across the country, schools like Florida State, they have the tomahawk. Stanford, I think, has some kind of axe, although I think it looks like a tree stump. We all know Ohio State has the Buckeyes. Michigan has some kind of sticker they put on the back of their helmet. It ends up taking up like the whole back of their helmet once it's done. The whole thing is just yellow. And I'm sure I'm missing some other schools, but those are the most significant ones. I think it could be kind of cool if NC State reverts back and starts putting these little claw marks all over the helmet. I think it could be kind of a cool look because, they took away the shoulder stripes. I think that was a good move. But the rest of the uniform, quiet as it's kept, it's kind of bland. I think it's clean. It's kind of bland. If you add in claw marks to the helmet, I don't know. You could start cooking with some fish grease there. I don't know. I think I could definitely get on board for that idea. As far as the whole crowd howling, that to me is very funny. One of our listeners did actually suggest this during football season last year. Shout out X Great Show. We didn't forget about you. I think it would be kind of funny if NC State were to set a Guinness Book of World Records record on opening night against Western Carolina. Why not? What do you have to lose? It's something that gets the fans involved and you get a world record in the process. Why not? It's something different. It's something that sets you apart from other schools. I wouldn't want to receive a kickoff during that. Maybe that's just me. But I don't know. It's just something to consider. I only have one, and it's one that I have repeatedly had for years and years and years. I am once again asking, please, every single year, you have at least one diamond helmet game. It makes no sense not to do it. Now, I do think that there are some stipulations with the Sheridan family on why NC State cannot use it repeatedly. All I'm asking is for one game every single year. It's a throwback night. Put on the throwback uniforms. You can honor Dick Sheridan in the process, which we should every year anyway. It feels like an absolute no-brainer. The uniforms look ridiculously clean, whether it's the white helmet or you could break out the red diamond helmet. That one has not been seen in quite some time. I know they sometimes include it in some recruiting pictures, and I lose my mind every time I see it because it gives me that slight glimmer of hope that perhaps we're going to get it again. I am once again asking, please, NC State football, find us a way to do one diamond helmet game every year. It's something that will set you apart from not just the rest of the ACC, but the rest of the country. Have a throwback game every single year. It makes too much sense not to do it. That is my one request. Now it's your turn. If you have any new traditions that you would love to see NC State begin to implement, throw them down in the comment box. I do think they've done a good job with the red LED lighting. That's fantastic. I do like the Alpha Wolf start of the game, bringing in former players or maybe even some celebrities to get the crowd fired up. I think that's a fantastic idea. If you have any other ideas that you would love to see NC State get in the mix for, drop them down in the comments. I would love to see what people think on this. That'll do it for us here on Wednesday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments down in the comment box. And if you have not already, mash that subscribe button. We will see you all on Friday for Fan Friday. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.